Weird science
is the revolution.
Catwoman number 60 is written by Tini Howard. Story by Tini Howard. It says, art by Stefano Raffaele, Veronica Gandini, Lucas Gattoni. So we have the 9 lives. Oh my goodness. And so when you're doing this, you want to play something with, something that has some, I guess you can't really have stakes, but you want to have a play where if you did have a character that really you could go back in time, and this is what I thought you might be able to do, go back and try to figure out like things that they were never able to do, right? And this would make it, but this is just made up shit. This is just thrown at you, and the character ends up suffering for it. It seems that Tini Howard just doesn't want to write Catwoman, so she's just going to throw this crazy, 9 lives thing at you, to the point where even in this, because some people would argue, Catwoman's big thing, she doesn't get killed. I mean, that's kind of, the deal. Even in this, then, she's going to do cat burglary with a crazy drill that comes out of her tips of her fingers of her costume. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what are you doing?
When did you make her Inspector Gadget?
Yeah, why are you writing a character and changing the essence of everything about the character?
She got drill fingertips to break in the safe. She got 9 lives like a supernatural cat lady.
And makes it seem as if
Catwoman.
Catwoman. And like, hey, everybody, she's in purple, so you'll love that. But then
I'm telling you, it almost feels
shit.
like what you would do stuff like in the 90s where you're like, okay, we're gonna put a hard edge on the characters. The 90s now, everything's extreme. Now Catwoman's going to be like half feline, has 9 lives, supernatural stuff, and we're going to put her in some thievery tech suit as well. So like along those lines, what you kind of would do. It still looks like Catwoman in this whole thing. You just gave her these weird caveats, which it seems like we want to run through as quick as possible because not even Tini Howard has anything to do with this. So it's like, hey, give her 9 lives. We're going to do a bullshit story. We're going to kill all of those lives off so nothing matters for anything we've done ever since the Gotham War.
There you go, Eric. I mean, it's Tiki Cat. And so you get this. And again, there are characters, if you're a fan of the character. No, but it does. I mean, not really. What happens is crazy cat eyes. That was the bag lady before. Lady, yeah. But now it's just, no Tiki Cat.
But now it's a French court jester.
Tiki Cat actually at least gave it a little funny charm to it. And I'll tell you, anybody out there, and I told Eric before we started recording tonight, if you were a fan, and maybe there's some people like Brandon. Brandon used to love when we would talk about the old New 52 and Nocenti Catwoman because things were crazy as shit. I think we found an equal. I think that this plays out, and even the dialogue reminds me of that because you end up, Tini Howard wants to she wants to play it big with this narration. She did it last issue too, but when you end up having that, and what they're doing is this weird eyes wide shut murder factory party with this. It doesn't even make sense.
The idea is the last time that, Catwoman came up against the Flamingo, it seemed like the Flamingo died. She got a little thumb drive with the last will and testament of Eduardo Flamingo. My most valuable possession, the idol of Balkus, I will give to my deadliest friend, the producer of the Theater of Death. And when you see the idea with this underground theater of death at nighttime, we have the producer who gets somebody involved in this theater, and they murder him to, to please the god Balkus. It's endowment in the statue, and it'll give the power of prosperity to whoever owns it, being the producer of this whole thing. When you have this, all it actually just comes off to me is that scene in Interview with the Vampire when you go to Paris and you have that whole theater of death where the vampires put on a show where it's all about killing somebody in the stage. And I'm like, that's all this was to me.
It is, and also, in little things and things that just pop up in my mind, not that it even connects, but remember at that point when you had Dick Grayson find out, and I think it was in the Nightwing book, but whatever, when he found out that they were auctioning off a lot of different things from the past. Oh, Batman's Batarang, but also the Flying Grayson suit. And he went in and he kind of got caught up in this crazy eyes wide shut thing as well. I mean, this sort of story is so tropey anyway, but it's Wonder Woman, it's Catwoman. She's kind of a Wonder Woman. It's Catwoman. And she shows up and she's there to get the Flamingo, but she thinks he's dead. But then a jester comes up and says, hey, you should come to enjoy some fun times. No, I like the little grittier shit. I like the
real show.
Crazy
Where's that at?
shit. Oh, well, you should come to the nighttime, which then just leads her to just show up at this. Nothing sets up the next scene. This is where I get the Nocenti stuff in this, where all this stuff is just kind of thrown at you. And it just gets goofier and goofier as you go on. The Flamingo here, it's such a different feel of a flamingo. You have him, I'd said he's the more chatty flamingo than I've ever seen. And it's not even that it feels like it's even the flamingo, even though he's like, oh, your chubby cheeks, I'd like to eat them. That's all she knows. But even in that, you have this whole play of this it looks like it's like some sort of insane clown posse knockoff band as they're dancing around like assholes. And then she's there and they're like, hey, everybody, the big play here is it's Catwoman. We're going to... the fuck happened?
Well, it's such a weird idea too, because you have the statue of Bacchus, which grants people power, like in prosperity, as long as they sacrifice a person a night for the god of the statue. And this was the flamingos. He gave it to the producer, but he apparently died, but he faked his death or just survived what everybody thought was his death. But for some reason, it seems like the flamingo wants his statue back, but he's also like the headliner freaking actor for the producer's show, and I don't understand what we're doing.
None of this makes sense.
Like, well, I came back with my statue, but it turns out the old flamingo, he had an eye for the stage, and he loved it here. So I don't understand this whole thing, because now it's just Catwoman versus Flamingo, who seems protecting the statue for the producer, and I don't understand why, because, my deadliest enemy, your friend, whatever it was. It's just a weird situation, and I don't know why this is something that would be on a thumb drive for Catwoman with one of her deadliest thefts that she have to have more lives in order to do.
If you're going to do this, in my mind, this would have been that play of knowing the character and saying, okay, this happened in this story, and that guy got away, but Catwoman wants to make sure that that guy gets his comeuppance. Or this happened with Maggie, but she wants to change that and do this, or that shoe's got that. But no, it's just random shit, and it's wacky. It's so wacky, and when you have this, you just keep mentioning these lives, and then she starts with well, I have 5, but I want to keep 1 later, and then I want 1 here, and I hope I don't do that. Oh my God, I think at one point, she literally yells out to the gods, I don't know how many lives I have left. I'm like, bitch, get a mirror. Look, you can tell this. And she's just screaming. At one point, I thought the statue was bigger than it was. And then I thought, holy shit, what is Clark Kent doing as the producer? I mean, all this stuff is like...
You say that, like, why is the court jesters handing out playbills to people on the street the actual old lady supernatural Catwoman?
It doesn't make sense. At one point, you end up having Catwoman in this issue say, oh my God, Flamingo, I didn't know that you were alive. And then later, she says, I wish I would have said that. You did. And then at points, you get this fucking, where they go and they sneak up behind her. Again, the character ends up being such a schmuck in any of this because she's fighting it out, but she has to die. So they're giving her an injection and she passes out. But later, it's like, oh my God. They missed the vein. I'm like, what the fuck is happening in this book? I just
Even this
get
whole thing, because they go to kill Catwoman for her to be the sacrifice that night, but for some reason the sodium pentothal overdose they do to people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they didn't inject it right, even though they do this every night. And Catwoman survives, so it's not a loss of life. She finds out later on. It's such a weird idea. But the Flamingo here, he just says at one point, I'm like, the producer's the boss. I'm not this person. I'm just here to eat people's faces off once they get killed, because that's the Flamingo way to be, baby. And then later on, it's like, but I want my statue back, so I'm going to need you to be the thief who gets it out. So then Wonder Woman, doing the same thing you did now. Catwoman goes and steals it from the safe that Flamingo says it's at. And then she's like, hey, Flamingo, you want this statue? Bring that back here, you thief. And then chases after Catwoman for the Bacchus statue on the stage.
Statue. I don't know, for some reason I thought it was bigger than it was when we finally got it as well. Also, like, there's classics where you end up where Flamingo and Catwoman, they're fighting on the stage. And Catwoman's able to do that reverse, like, back of the headbutt deal. Wham! Flamingo goes down. Everybody's hooting and hollering. It looks like now the crowd has expanded by 50. They're throwing roses onto the stage, and her line is, I'll be waiting to talk to you in my dressing room, and send back those roses. I earned them. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I was so lost at that point in time in that dialogue exchange.
Yeah, and then you end up seeing, Dr. Giggles coming up from behind with this crazy... And also, it felt like when they did this, the way that they're doing this with the sodium pentothal, I'm like, oh my God, truth. But why are you giving an overdose of that? Why do you end up... And it doesn't feel like this was...
Heroin, I don't know.
And it doesn't feel like that's what the people were like, oh man, we're going to see a killing. Oh wait, they just injected her there and she fell down. Like, this doesn't seem like a theater type deal. You know what I mean? The idea of it was going to be pomp and circumstance and all this stuff. Yeah, they might want to see Flamingo eat some faces. But when you just walk up behind and like, nighty-night, Catwoman, and end up injecting her with this deal, I'm like, what are you playing at? And then she ends up waking up.
It's so funny, though, but why would you have the caveat at the end, like, oh, they must have missed the vein, so it didn't count as like, why even care at that point when all you're doing is killing off extra lives that she has?
Even then, like, when she's yelling at that one point, I don't know, I don't either, because you start telling bullshit. Then she wakes up and the jester cut, and then she's got, there's a drum set? What's happening? And all these cats around, and then that's where the guy with the cat's eyes who comes in then. And I'm telling you, like, it looks like the Joker, but then once you realize, oh, they're not playing that. It's the lady who did this. What the fuck is going on? And then she starts thinking of the idea of, like, maybe she has a purpose that she doesn't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what's happening, but she goes and she steals the statue, like you said. But then that gets convoluted. Then you
have a high-speed chase on motorcycles between the Flamingo and Catwoman, going on a highway to the point where, like, Flamingo uses his whip to go and try to, like, grab the statue, pulls Catwoman off the bike. She goes skittering to where the bike lands into a semi-truck. Things explode. Catwoman's on fire. The statue breaks, and she flies on fire into the back of a pickup truck where she realizes, shit, my ass just died right there. But you know what? Life's great because I thought I died previously. I didn't. I got more lives. That's just
like,
the
oh,
end.
God. Yeah. At one point, she's, like, talking about the statue. I'm like, I don't know, the statue. I think it might be.
Such a lucky cat.
The thing is cursed. It craves death. I want to destroy it, so I'm going to get it to destroy it. But Flamingo wants it because it's the thing, and then I'm going to grab it.
Though, so she got to do what she wanted to do, and she wasted only one life.
In her accident. And even then, like, she's driving, and you end up where it looked like, at one point, I thought she was just going straight into a, semi, but that was Flamingo. He seems to be at 80 pieces. She lands somehow in the back of a pickup that I don't even know what this guy's doing. It looks like he's going to, like, a yard sale. You end up with it. And of course, in the back of the pickup, while moving that she crashed in, there happens to be a mirror so she can look at it. They're still there driving. And she's like, oh, look at that. I still have lives. Oh, and then the look on her face where she's laughing is like, I'm one up again. Lucky, lucky cat. I'm like, unlucky Jim and Air. Because this book sucks. It sucks so it doesn't even make sense from page to page. And it's nothing that anybody, I think, that is a Catwoman fan could get behind. There's no way. You're turning her into this reckless, crazy woman who's just going around with random things to do. These don't seem
She's
very
going to lose her
important.
touch after this is all gone. I'm afraid for Selena Kyle.
Oh, I just want her to miscount. Dead. Just gone.
Well, luckily she has tally marks on her back to keep score.
Well, I'm telling you, at the one point, she's all confused because, they're where she can't see.
You just got to keep a compact mirror on, so you can look at your back at all times.
I need at some point where we just play the game, she's a cat, right? Catwoman. She's just like doing circling around, trying to look behind her, but she can't. Also, just to point out, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but why is every issue of Catwoman, there has to be some vent play? She's in the vents again. I understand that she's doing but I'm waiting for Duchess. Meow! Duchess is there. We're going to find, could we find out that Duchess is actually like the big, like spirit animal? I don't know. And it just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But again, that's what she yells. When she's there, she wakes up in that jester costume at the drum set. Fucking Neil Peart and yells, how many chances do I have left? I'm like, get a mirror. Come on now. In that outfit. I don't even know why who changed her in that. It's so fucking stupid. Oh, well. What'd you give it, Eric?
I think the art is fine. It's just the story is terrible. It's doing off-the-wall things to Catwoman with no real reason behind it except for to do, continue the Catwoman book, but without any ideas behind it except for off-the-wall stuff that actually hurts the character in the long run, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I just wonder why at the end. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 2. Even the deal where she yells, how many chances do I have left? Then she's just standing there, jingle, and yells, fuck no. And then in her dialogue, she says, I really didn't want to die once here. Let's hope it doesn't take another to get out. 5 lives to go, 4 to spend. But I come out of it with Flamingo's most. I'm like, what? It's just nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense, this whole thing. And it has to end. It has to change. Something has to give here because...
Again, I don't think it has to end, but we definitely need a creative change.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm more of saying that it has to end with this Tini Howard deal because she is now, like, really has taken a character unrecognizable, the shit that's going on here, including, like we said earlier, a Inspector Gadget,
Once we went to prison, it all fell apart for me.
Yeah, I think once Tini Howard started, when she was aping the Genevieve Valentine stuff, we're like, all right, this is okay.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, shit happened. Go to jail,
Prison.
Duchess, then fucking Ramen. Now we got Go-Go Gadget. We got 9 Lives.
War.
All these things, like, usually, and I'll say it, I said it earlier with the Tom King Wonder Woman, like, okay, that sounds like it might work on paper, but this isn't worth any paper that you shit on with this nonsense. It's so bad.
Shit on paper?
It's just bad. Toilet paper.
Stop shitting on that.
Paperware. Oh, you mean you're supposed to use the toilet first? I figured I'd cut out the middleman. But yeah, it's 2 out of 10. Hey, all you weirdos, if you like comic book shows, podcasts, videos, please check the description of this video where you can see links to all of our podcast shows, websites, all of that. And if you want to help us out for everything that we do, you can click on that Patreon link in the upper left-hand corner and check out our Patreon where you can go right now and get a 7-day free trial to see all the stuff that we do, shows that are Marvel, DC, indie, manga, and even more. So check all that out, and I'll talk to you all later.
Weird science
is the revolution.